Hi everyone, Steve Crosby here. Welcome to this edition of Monday Morning Musings. This is our third shot at the biblical topic of humility. The last episode may have freaked you out a little bit, and I can't get into demonology and why most of it, in my opinion, is not taught correctly in the body of Christ. That's another topic. But simply to emphasize where we left off, that a human persona does not define biblical humility. That long Greek word that I'm putting up again for you right now, that the Christian writers used to define the term the way they defined it, was the first time it had ever been done in the history of human language, the Greek language. That long Greek word, the early church, the church fathers, the folks in the era of the scriptures, as the scriptures were being writing, took that word and used it in a way that no Greek writer before had ever used it. It was one of those terms that the church redefined. And the idea behind the term is a deep sense of moral littleness before God. It's not about bigness of soul. It's about acknowledging the greatness of Him. Now, what is, if defining humility is someone who has a habit of acknowledging God's greatness, what then is real biblical humility? Listen carefully. It's not about being self-aware of your personal defects. Biblical humility is about being aware of the greatness of God. The ultimate act of biblical humility is confident faith. Confident faith is the articulation and the behaviors that routinely acknowledge God's greatness. Now listen carefully. To insecure people, to timid people, to jealous people, to fearful people, confident faith often comes across as arrogance and pride. I once knew a group where one of the leaders did a sermon on the 50 examples of pride. My goodness, the fact that you're doing a sermon with 50 examples of pride is proof of pride. Like you could, you've got this thing handled. We need to navigate this very carefully. Just as someone who's self-aware and groveling in kind of a self-aware personality downer doesn't define humility, neither does somebody who's bragging and blowing off, ridiculous declarations and sort of boastfulness define faith. Confident faith is often quiet faith. Remember where Isaiah said, "In quietness and confidence shall be your strength"? Biblical humility means I believe God, and I believe what He says first before I believe what my eyes are telling me. And I don't mean denial about reality. I'm talking about our emotional state. My bank account is faltering, and I panic, or I start to make accusations against God. That's the opposite of faith. So biblical humility is a confident faith, and that's why many people in many local churches who are really quite humble are not recognized as such, because it makes insecure people feel intimidated. Their lack of real humility, which is confident trust in Father, is exposed by your peaceful, confident, relaxing faith of trust towards God and His greatness. They don't like it. And out of their soul, they push back on you as supposedly not being humble. So I think I beat this horse pretty well over the last few weeks. Few things are more offensive to phony Christianity than somebody who is really humble, defined as I've just defined it for you. Remember that, and don't fall for that phony, self-aware, self-deprecating stuff that's so common in many local churches. And I'll see you next time.